Alrighty, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Family Caucus, another meeting of the great minds. I'm your host, Will Saxman, along with my co-host and my sister, Mary Taylor, and my dad, Chris Saxman, where we're going to be diving into, top 5 headlines that I grabbed from, just Twitter and abroad yesterday, and just gonna throw around some ideas and discuss, how they impact the political landscape. And amongst other things. So why don't you guys give a little bit of a intro for yourselves, Mary?
Mary Taylor. I have been in the political world thanks to my father since I was 9 years old. So I say professionally and personally, this has been my life for 20 years. Professionally, I still work in DC. No, not your
No,
fault.
much
Bullshit.
earlier. You were like
That's right.
4.
Okay.
There's a picture
yeah.
of you at a Republican headquarters grand opening in your Catholic school uniform, and you were
Oh
just
yeah,
and
and
you
I
were
was probably
pouting,
up at the time.
pouting
And here
hard.
we are. Yeah, here we are 25 years later then. I work in politics, degrees and all that kind of stuff, worked on campaigns. Now I'm a federal lobbyist, working in DC on issues that I give a shit about, and I'm not one of those sellouts. So
Wow.
nice.
Okay. Okay. Pumpkin's back.
Yes.
Chris Saxman, been involved in politics in Virginia since 1992, served in the House of Delegates from 2002 to 2010, co-chaired the McCain campaign in 2008 along with U.S. Senator John Warner. I was the conservative brought alongside Senator John Warner. Now I'm sort of an outcast in the Republican Party these days, but run an organization called Virginia Free. This is not to make sure this is a disclaimer. The things I say here are not reflective of the opinions of Virginia Free or its members. A variety of clients throughout the years, but have studied and been a part of politics and government. Taught it for a number of years, and now I am blessed to be able to discuss it with my children, our adult children, in this format. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no, this is, and I work for FedEx. So come on now. I mean, these guys know a whole lot more than I do, but we figured that it's just great. We have these discussions all the time, and we just wanted to kind of press record and allow other people to listen in and be a fly on the wall and join the conversation as well. So this is just another way for us to kind of do that.
A disclaimer too that the things I say here are not a reflection of my clients or the company that I work for.
You need to make sure you're not too. I mean, we have some pretty vibrant conversations that should not be heard by other people. However, you need to temper your enthusiasm. You don't want to get in trouble. You don't want to get your clients in trouble. Just don't deal with it politically or legally.
But yeah, that shouldn't stop us from talking about these things. And like we say, this is just an open conversation. We're just trying to share ideas and learn and grow from one another. And that's what has always been the focus of our conversations. It hasn't been sparring. We've done our fair share of sparring, but I think in recent years, it's become a lot more constructive. Dad calling himself an outcast in the party, the rhino in the group. It's just
stop. We're not gonna do that. We're not gonna do that shit. I mean, I'm not
trying to get them riled up, folks. We're trying to get them riled up.
I'll get riled up because it used to be a pejorative based on your whether you were conservative enough. And I was brought on in 2008 by the McCain campaign to be the conservative, the young rising conservative star of the Republican Party, to balance out John Warner and John McCain. And by virtue of that, I was labeled a rhino like 10 years later by people, in the Trump world. And I'm like, I don't consider myself Republican. You can't call me a rhino because I'm not a Republican in name only. I'm a conservative. And that's one of the things we can talk about, how the Republican Party is cleaving. The conservative movement is cleaving off between national populists, which I have agreement in some of the policy areas there. But I'm a rock rib conservative and have been before y'all were born, and that's not going to change. It's just who I am. So, and I think the whole notion of calling people names is not helpful in the world of politics. But some people get their rocks off on it, and they feel good about themselves, like they're super duper MAGA. I could give a shit. I mean, honestly, that's if you have to call someone else a name to identify yourself, it must not be that great of a name. That you're identifying.
It's not right now. It's not right now. Let's be honest. I mean, I think that the party's pretty in a bad place. I don't think it's 80% of the base, like CNN and MSNBC try to paint it to be like, he's got 80% of the base. I don't think it's that at all. I think he's got like 25, 30% of the base, and the rest of us, and the rest of us in America, like really the 80% of both parties is stuck in the middle, shrugging our shoulders, going, "What the hell, guys?" I mean, so hopefully
Well,
this becomes a place where we can talk about it. Yeah, exactly.
let's
Exactly.
go there. Polling has shown over and over again that he's pretty much in the upper 20s of the total Republican Party as far as solid base Trump voters, and he was trending that way after the midterms. But what you saw after the indictment bump, which is new to American politics, is that's when he took off. And that's when DeSantis and Trump numbers just diverged. DeSantis was closing ahead in some polls in some states. And then you had this flip that occurred after Trump got indicted on these lawfare charges, which I happen to, many of them are, I think, are caca, hoopy caca, like the Letitia James up in New York's clearly running for president in 28. I mean, she's just trying to ride this coattail of punishing Donald Trump. No businessman in New York City agrees with what she's doing up there. But to get back to this, it's not that 90% of Republicans are dead set for Donald Trump. It's not true. There's a core group, there's a persuadable group, and there's a no group. And they're about a third, I think, to just put it in basics. Of the three buckets, there are a third who are never going to vote for Donald Trump. There are a third who are persuadable, probably will show up and vote against Joe Biden versus for Donald Trump. And they'll tell you that over and over again. But there is a rock group, people who show up, and when you only have 10% of the registered voters in America choosing your presidential candidates for your parties, 10% of registered voters, 10% in the primary states, they're the ones who chose the president, the primary nominee for both parties, 10%. That's what we're down to in this country. So as a result, the people who are of that particular political intensity for both Democrats and Republicans, they're the one who choose our presidents. And I think that's just wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we have to do is talk about some potential fixes to this. And I think, what's become clear after 2016 and 2020 is that the election system is not giving the people what they want. And that's what a democracy was supposed to be. And I think that we've kind of lost our way with that. I don't know if it was ever this bad. Of course, there's only 2 elections that I've been able to vote in. So I don't know necessarily what some of the fixes are, but we can totally get to that in another way.
Yeah, well, let's get to that when we get to our issues. But also, you have to understand that we're not a democracy. We're a republic. And the way we have chosen our path to representative government is this primary system. And it just might be time to trash it all together and start anew, where you're having more of the Republicans choosing their nominees and more of the Democrats choosing their nominees. Or you're going to have it break into 3 and 4 and 5 different of the European systems, because people just aren't represented truly by the 2 parties. I mean, 70% of Americans don't want a Trump-Biden rematch. They want the new generation of leadership, and they're not going to get it. And that just goes to the depth of the corruption in our political system, the depth of corruption in both political parties individually. It's just point in fact, that's just what's going on.
And I think one point of that makes it just so glaringly obvious that it is broken is that there is no Democrat primary. There are no contenders. There are no debates. There is nothing. There should be, but there isn't.
No.
That goes to show that it's all broken. They've already decided. The Democratic Party's already decided who's going to be their front runner.
Yeah.
It's going to be Joe Biden. The people aren't.
It wasn't a vote. It wasn't a vote.
There was no vote.
Here's the funny thing. I was talking to a well-known Virginia Democrat, many years in the Democratic circles. I won't betray the trust and the confidence of the conversation. And she said to me, Jill Stein and Cornel West are a threat to democracy. And I said, how are 2 candidates on the ballot, more candidates on the ballot, a threat to democracy? They're not a threat to democracy. They're a threat to the Democratic Party. There's a difference. There's a big difference.
Now, any threat to the Democratic Party is a threat to democracy. And they love throwing that word around. That's everything. It's democracy is on the ballot, guys. Democracy is on the ballot. And speaking of, let's go ahead and jump right in to what I think is front of mind for everybody right now, or what's been running the news cycle for the last 2 days. Trump's bond was reduced from $454 million down to $175 million. Had a great clip of him yesterday saying, where a reporter asked him, "How do you plan on posting the bond?" cash. Thought that was a great clip. He's going to be supposedly paying that up in cash. What does this mean? Is it a blow for the Democrats? Really, is it more of a nothing burger? He's going to pay it. Apparently, he's going to take Truth Social. He's going to go public, and he's expected to make about $3 billion off of that. Had plenty of cash on hand, so I think it was all political theater, as we've all said all along. I think even Democrats, most of my Democrat friends, have even kind of said that this is it was a witch hunt from the start to the beginning, or from the beginning to the end, and now it's just ending in what is becoming a less and less victorious.
You want to take that one?
Kind of fashion, yeah. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh, it's bad. First of all, it's bad strategy, political strategy. They didn't think this one through. There's I can't tell you the number of times, guys, that we were in the House in a caucus meeting, and someone said we could do X, Y, and Z. And then the majority leader, who now serves in Congress, Morgan Griffith, would stand and say, but if you do that, here's what's going to happen next. And we go, oh, let's not do that. If you're making a martyr out of somebody, it's going to be reflected.
That's exactly what I was about to say. They've made a martyr, and they were trying to be like, oh, do you see how bad he is? And instead, all the followers were like, he's taking one for the team. That's what he's doing. He's falling on his sword for us. He is our leader. And everyone's like grappling onto that. They're like holding on to that. They're like, oh my God, he's amazing. It's the best thing that they could have done for Trump voters.
Yeah.
They did the exact opposite of what they wanted. They were like, oh, see, he's a bad guy. Well, honestly, all it's really shown me is that you can't throw stones, because you've got Hunter Biden, who is, I feel sorry for him to have a father like Joe Biden. I truly do.
Mm-hmm. Fair.
But all it does is show that there's a likeness between both sides of this. Both sides. Why are we dealing with legal issues on both sides? Well,
it also feeds the double standard narrative, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Because you look at Bob Menendez, who just stepped down and said he wasn't going to run for re-election. Each party has their level of overt corruption and criminal activity. And if you make a martyr out of a guy, or a congressman, a senator, whatever, and these people who go out there like Marjorie Taylor Greene are just nauseating beyond all reason. They become martyrs for being attacked, and they do it to get attacked, and they're rewarded through email fundraising opportunities and getting on Fox News and OANN and Newsmax and all these other people. In the same way, if you see people on cable news, they're the problem. Right? So typically, they're the problem in politics. I mean, like 70-80% of them are just not helpful to getting things done and getting this country back on track.
So, jumping off of that, one of the trending topics last night was the words Eighth Amendment, and I thought that this was pretty interesting. I didn't know that this was in the Eighth Amendment. But excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. Do you think? And this has been talked about at length, is that this is the first time that this statute has ever been, criminally prosecuted to seek out damages where there were no victims in the crime. Letitia James went out and bragged on Twitter what the final verdict was. $454 million, had like all the dollars after that, in a sense, the whole thing. Do you think that there's any chance, and Vivek actually came out with a video kind of in response to this, saying that she should be disbarred, saying that Engron should also be looked into. And Trump has kind of run his campaign on, I'm going to get you all back. Now, this is like a twofold kind of question here. Do you think that she can kind of be disbarred? Do you think that this does exceed what the Eighth Amendment was there to protect us from? And then also, should Trump be confronting his campaign about hitting them back twice as hard?
Well, bail, I have an issue with that, because if you're worth billions of dollars, $175 million is basically what you make in a day. You know what I mean? So like, it has to do, well, it has to do with the percentage of what your income is. That is really what kind of defines what is a lot of money.
Let's take a step back. First of all, just bear with me, kids, because these terms are really important. There's wealth, and then there's income. You can have a lot of wealth and not a lot of income, because it's not generating revenue. And sometimes that revenue is generated goes back into what your wealth is. Like if you have a house that appreciates over time, you can not get any money off of it. Like the house we live in has appreciated almost double since we moved in here 10 years ago. That's pretty strong. That's our wealth. But if we were taxed on that increase, could we pay for it? So when you talk about Donald Trump being worth billions, no one's really ever come to that realization how much he's truly worth and what does he have cash on hand. And there's a big difference.
Yeah. Well, brother, he's got enough cash to pay this thing off.
Whether it's his cash or not, he'll find the cash just to make the fucking point. Excuse my language, but he will just to do it.
Well, here's the point, though.
Cash, which is fine, but this goes down to people being like, "Oh, it's too much money. Oh, they're taking advantage. Oh, the Eighth Amendment." Okay, but in reality, compared to all this wealth that he says he has, can he pay that? And he's like, "I can pay cash. Great. Then that's the right amount for you. Then
fine, but you shouldn't have to liquidate assets to defend yourself in court when you're on appeal. I mean, that's the cruel and unusual punishment here. And I agree with him. Look, I don't like Donald Trump, even though I voted for him twice, and I won't do it this time. The reality is, the transaction occurred between two entities, between Donald Trump and the banks. And the bank said, we don't agree with his analysis, and we did our due diligence. Here's what we're willing to lend up to. William, you've bought a home recently. It wasn't so much what the house was listed for; it was what the bank would lend you. Right. Okay. Now they could have listed a house at 10 times what you paid for it, but what you settled on is what the market's going to bear out, largely because of what the bank's going to lend you. This is the crux of the entire argument that Donald Trump is making. And then everyone overinflates the value. It's up for the lending institutions to make the due diligence and figure out what they're actually going to lend. This is not like he's going to the government and getting government loans, And this is real estate 101. When you list your home, you're going to list it for all you can get, right?
Yeah.
That's just what happens.
Yeah, but it's one thing to do that, and it's another thing to say that my house has, 3 times the square footage that it actually has.
I didn't say, look,
that's mine, but
he's not defending his behavior.
Right, exactly. And nobody is seeking damages in this. He paid back the loans.
Yeah, well, no
is it cruel and unusual to sentence or give out this kind of punishment?
Right.
I think there's certainly an argument for that.
Statute. Probably a bad statute in the first place.
But he's the only one that's ever been prosecuted under it.
Absolutely. And then the fine was so excessive. And this is where they go overboard. This is the overreach that everyone gets trapped into. And it's gonna redound to the benefit of Donald Trump. He's gonna be made to be the martyr. He's gonna be the victim, and people are gonna feel sorry for him. Hell, I feel sorry for him right now, and I might even vote for him. Right. But the people on this is where you get to the politics of the whole thing. You get the independents out there, the former Republicans like myself, who are saying, "Look, I'm just not voting for Trump this time, but I feel sorry for him," and who might get so pissed off at the end that they actually throw their vote to him. So this is bad strategy and horrible tactics by the Democrats.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that even they would say
that they're using the Justice Department for their own gains.
Oh, horrible!
Yeah, they're weaponizing the justice system. That's what they're so afraid of doing. And
we're like, oh, they're separate.
Yeah. Well, they did the same thing with the intelligence community, the IC. Correct. all those intelligence officials signing off on Hunter Biden's laptop saying it was a Russian plant, all the hallmarks of a Russian operation. They're just lying. And when they're proven to be liars and nothing happens to them, you get this double standard narrative out there that people go, "We're screwed. Why should we?"
I think you hit on it. That nothing's going to happen to them, and that's where Donald Trump is running this whole campaign on. No. Something's going to happen to them. I'm gonna hit them back twice as hard, and I'm ready to see that. I'm gonna vote for that twice if I can't. Like I'm gonna be, let me get some of that action, brother. Let me see what that is like, because of course, it's not the punch, it's the counter punch. I want to see somebody get knocked out.
It's always the counter punch in politics.
We're all sick of it. We're sick. Everyone is sick of the I don't even try to I'm trying to find the right word for it, but we're sick of the doom and gloom and we're all fucked. Okay, well at some point we have to unfuck ourselves. At what point? But that's what I'm saying. It's I
don't know if it's going to be Trump. I don't know if it's Trump's the way to unfuck it all, but he's ready to get down and dirty, and I'm ready for that. I'm ready for that for sure.
I think that, and to William's point, and I've taught you all this well over the years to the point at which I thank you for offering back to me something that I teach about. It's never the punch in politics; it's the counter punch. And the counter narrative here is that the Democrats have been on this train of we're for social justice, we're for the downtrodden, we're for the little guy. We're always, this is our whole narrative, right? Well, they're the big guy who are not applying the justice fairly and equitably to everyone. And this is where you have to call the balls and strikes accurately, because everyone can see the strike zone on this one in particular for the New York real estate problem or the real estate trial. Once you get into Stormy Daniels and paying off Stormy Daniels and that kind of stuff, that's a different narrative. But the problem is you're building a counter narrative that he's being persecuted by the Justice Department of all things. It's supposed to be defending people, not prosecuting people who aren't worthy of prosecution. Now, Mar-a-Lago case, very different. Maybe the Georgia election case could be different. But our vision is going to be so clouded by the fact that you've overreached into areas that everyone goes, no, this is not what you go after someone for. And, Kevin O'Leary is right. When he was on CNBC or MSNBC, this is going to hurt New York business. Because people are going to go, why should I do business here if Letitia James is going to come and take away my property without having the chance to go to court first? The whole premise in this country is, guilty, innocent until proven guilty. Well, we have an appellate process. It takes a lot of years for a lot of reasons. Look at Bob McDonnell, who was exonerated by the Supreme Court 9-0 or unanimously. I think there was one abstention. But that's why we have this system. And right now the system is working against people. And people, as Mary Catherine rightly pointed out, are getting screwed.
Yeah. Well, she ran her campaign on "Show me the man, I'll show you the crime," and that's that right there. You should go to jail for that. But using your office to do something like that and to run on that kind of premise is just I don't see it, man. I think
this is where the audience, your audience, and this audience in particular, should watch The Death of Stalin. This is Lavrenti Beria and his purging with the Stalinist tactics of just killing people and putting them on trial later. There's a Netflix special coming out on the Chinese Cultural Revolution. It does the same thing. And it's very eye-opening and it's very real. And I didn't think we'd ever come back to it in this country or become close to this, but here we are. And Republicans can't. And this is what I would caution Republicans to do. Even though I'm not. And I talk to a lot of Republicans. Don't fall for the bait. Don't do what they say they're going to do. Be better than that. Hold your head up. We're not going to do that. This is adult time. To go after these people in the same way solves nothing, and it makes it worse. You got to stop it. Stop the bleeding now.
But how do you get a collective to do that?
A collective.
A group of people. You're like telling them to stop taking the bait. Okay, well,
stop taking the bait. God damn it! It's not hard.
It is because they're going after their leader right now, and they're doing it to win a campaign, and they're doing it to tank our country and continue to push all these terrible things. I'm not going to sit by and watch it happen. And if this guy's going to say, I'm going to go back there and hit him twice as hard, I'm going to say, let's do it.
Donald Trump has a certain number of people who are going to show up no matter what. They're the more intense of the two political parties right now. The base of the Republican Party is far more willing to show up for Donald Trump. What they need to get back are the people that they've lost. And you do that by saying, look, it's just time to play adult in the room. And be the normal, traditional Republican-esque kind of candidate that Republicans would have wanted you to be. But you don't seem to have that DNA to do it. And this is where Chris Lostavita and Susie Wiles have run an outstanding Hall of Fame campaign, front to back. And you just get them to say, stop saying this shit. No one... If you keep doing this, you're going to keep repelling people from showing up and supporting you. These are gettable votes. They voted for you last time. You still lost by 8 million votes, but you need these people back if you think you're going to win the electoral college.
But how do you unite a group of people to say we're not going to take the bait. We're going to stand, above the fold. We're going to be better than everyone else, but we have to be quiet about it. And nobody wants quiet right now.
No, not quiet. You can be funny. Humor is devastating. Humor is absolutely devastating in this context right now. Bill Maher's doing an incredible job of it. Look at his show over the weekend about he just took a sledgehammer to identity politics. Does it in a very funny way, and he makes a point. Jon Stewart did the same thing with Katie Britt's State of the Union response. It's devastating. Humor is devastating. And it makes a point without riling up, dismissing bad narratives, bad strategies is far more devastating. And as to William's point earlier about being the counterpunch, humor is an effective counterpunch.
And it's a fair
I
point.
think Donald Trump does that.
Well, I mean, yeah,
Well, he's
but
not funny.
yeah,
He's not funny. He's insulting. He's
Yeah.
debasing. It's not funny. I mean, some people laugh at it. It's just there's no real humor there. There's no well thought out jokes. You can no. That's debasing, insulting, lowering the no. It's not fun.
and
It's shocking.
And to make your point, SNL does a great job of poking fun and having the humor side of politics. Like when you have,
They used to. They're not as good as they used to
they're
be.
not as good, but you guys get what I mean. Like they did a good job with that. But you used to.
What sucks is that the right has Greg Gutfeld, and I don't think he's funny at all. So we got to find somebody else that's a little bit.
He's the smart ass kid in class that everyone wants to smack every once in a while, but has a funny line. He tries too hard.
I haven't heard a funny line out of
Dave
that guy in years.
Chappelle is brilliant, right? He's He's brilliant when it comes to politics. Bill Maher, brilliant. Jon Stewart, brilliant.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. Well, we can wrap this one up saying we need a grown up in the room. Marco Rubio recently said that it would be an honor to serve as Trump's VP, and that he hasn't been in contact with him. That he would, say yes if he was asked. But there's all this speculation about who's on the short list right now. With everything that Trump said about him, small hands, the jabs that kind of went back and forth, and when they ran. Do you guys have any opinion on that? You think that there's anything that is there anyone that wouldn't take that job given the chance? I know Pence said that he wouldn't, of course, but is this him not having any self-respect, or is this him trying to rise above it and saying that I need to rise to the moment and be that person for the party, and maybe I can get these votes back and I can be the grown-up in the room?
I don't know if he is the grown-up that he thinks we need. Like, I don't, is he putting himself forward as the grown-up, or do we get to decide who the grown-up's going to be? Because to me, he is he a grown-up in the room? Sure. Do I think he has some good policies? Sure. Yeah, I do. Do I think he's good at his job? Yeah, sure. I don't know if he's the man for the job.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, he's the grown-up in the room because he's in a room full of 5-year-olds, currently. So for the Republican Party right now, and finding somebody who's willing to run alongside this guy. So what do you think, Dad? Any predictions on the short list?
I don't think many of them are very tall in the saddle folks right now. And I don't think Marco's on the short list. I think it's Ben Carson, Elise Stefanik, Natalie Mace, Byron Donalds, and maybe a couple others that would come before him. What I think what's happening here is that names are going to be floated to keep the conversation away from Donald Trump during the trials, and anything you can flood the zone with that keeps it off the prosecutions or the trials right now is helpful to Donald Trump to divert the attention of everyone. And that's, if you notice, Donald Trump does the most outlandish things when he's getting bad news. And that's just, something to watch for when you're paying attention to these things. And Marco Rubio, said some, rather negative things about Donald Trump back in 2016, and Trump obliterated him, calling him little Marco and these kinds of things. It's not an arena you should be in if you're Marco Rubio. And I don't think you can have two people from the same state on the ticket in the first place. So Byron Donalds and Marco Rubio, Ron DeSantis probably not going to be VP. But again, it's a distraction. I think it's largely a distraction, and it's a good tactic in the campaign. And you'll see more of this. People be floated, and people are like, what's going on here? And they'll go on television, and you basically chewed up an entire week of a news cycle. And that's an important distraction in the course of things. And it also helps people go, oh, well, if he's thinking about Marco, then maybe he's coming around, or maybe I can gravitate towards him as a result of that. So it's not necessarily to get Marco, it's to get people who like Marco Rubio to come to Trump's to vote for Trump again. And I say that as Marco, thanks for getting me on Facebook all those years ago. You're my first friend and got me on Facebook.
Yeah, that's right. Story. And so is there anybody that would, you said you're not voting for Trump. Is there anybody that could convince you otherwise on the ticket?
No.
Even if he went and got a Democrat or an independent?
He won't do that.
Yeah, he won't do that. Yeah, okay. But there's just nobody that could make
Look,
that
I mean,
appealing to you.
we're at an inflection point, tipping point in in politics. Things are changing very quickly, and it's just there's no room I don't think for conservatives in the Republican Party anymore. This is a populist movement. It's going to go in that direction. It's going to keep going in that direction for the foreseeable future, probably for until I'm gone. Even if I live a very, very long life, I don't see that reversing, because people and they're rightly pissed about a lot of things, but I think a lot of the policy prescriptions and the behaviors can't be justified and rewarded. And I think they're counterproductive to what this nation needs right now. Neither party's talking about Social Security and Medicare, which is going to swamp your futures. I can't turn that over to my family. I can't turn it over to my kids and say, "Oh, that's fine. We're not going to do Social Security and Medicare. That's fine. We're going to abandon Ukraine on the field of battle against Russia." Russia, the Soviet Union. There's the Soviet Union by a different name. Just horrible policies that are short-sighted, and the only one that I think that is convincible is the border. But he was awful on the debt, and I don't think he did well in the pandemic. And I don't think he's not gonna be able to unite the country. We need unity more than anything else right now. And I just think it's the wrong direction for the nation, especially for your future. Less so mine, but definitely your generation needs to be thinking long term about the fiscal reality that's coming down the pike. And I don't know how we grow the economy, pay our bills, and have a successful nation long term with either Joe Biden or Donald Trump at the helm. I saw the difference that Ross Perot made in 1992 in changing direction of both political parties, and that's where I'm going.
Okay. That's because I was going to say, if it's not Trump, then Biden wins. And then I think you just look at the trajectories of both scenarios, and people are just looking for the lesser of two evils. And
well, look, I voted for
path.
Donald Trump for the Supreme Court. We got that. And that there's three branches of government. There's a legislative, executive, and judicial branches. Judicial branch is locked up right now at the Supreme Court level. We'll be fine. We'll get through it. Hopefully, if we can withstand that and not too many die in the process. But you got to hold the Senate to under 60. We can't have a filibuster overturned. That would be ruinous for the Republic. Absolutely ruinous for the Republic. The House has shown itself to be unmanageable and governable. So you have to look at it from a broader perspective. I think well, you don't have to. I look at a broader perspective because I've been in government. I've seen how the three branches work and how they balance each other out. And frankly, 4 more years of a neutered president, Biden or Trump, is not going to be injurious. We won't succumb, but I just can't. I can't continue to support the broken duopoly 2-party system that is suffocating your future. Just can't do it anymore. And and if the third parties, fourth parties, whatever it is, collectively get close to 25-30%, God bless, that'll change the direction of the country. They might not win, but they'll change it. I mean, Ross Perot won the debate in 92. He just didn't have to serve as president.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't his policies that ended up, well, maybe, but it wasn't his policies that ended up, dictating how the next 10 years, 20 years went.
Who that? Ross Perot?
That's what I'm afraid of with the Democratic Party right now. So,
well, that's why I'm
doing everything I can to stop that from happening.
I won't take as many Republicans and Democrats with me, because that's what Ross Perot did. Say, look, we can't continue on this path, folks. He challenged it. It wasn't about Ross Perot, the person. It was about the direction of the country. It was about the country. And whoever comes up next can't be about, oh, I've got this, great personality and I can do X, Y, and Z and have this great myriad of issues to run on. There are but a few, and they are paramount to the future of this country and, frankly, human freedom. And we're losing perspective on that. And I'm very, very concerned about the long-term impact to your future and hopefully your children's future.
And I think that there's
one last word. Go ahead.
There's something deeper that is going on, but I don't think anyone can get out of the close fight to care. And that is what terrifies me, because everyone's just trying to put food on the table because they can't afford to do so. Yeah. I heard something today, and I need to look into it more because I heard it and it's stuck with me, but that the middle class income now has to be for a household $174,000 a year to just consider yourselves to be middle class, bare minimum middle class, to no longer be paycheck to paycheck. That is egregious. But that is where people are, that they literally cannot even worry about all of these other things going on politically to put food on the table. Like, that is their main focus.
They can't get ahead.
They
Yeah,
can't
that
get
number
ahead.
was like $70,000 under Donald Trump, and now it's 175 or whatever it is, and that's what's going on in 3
Well, I
years.
don't know what the exact numbers are, but it hasn't improved. It's gotten worse under.
gotten worse.
It wasn't great under Donald Trump. It was better, but that was due to some. It wasn't. I don't think directly attributable to Donald Trump. Plus, it was just better. I don't think it was his policies that really turned things around that much. And look, it was bad. Things are going in a bad direction, the great financial crisis and whatnot, and turning things around and getting people, the lower economic rungs of the ladder, to be more in control of their future is really important, and have them have a future. But right now they're underwater and don't see a way out of it. That's where a lot of their fear is coming from, and it should be. And I've said this to a number of them. It's not that I disagree with your anger, your plight. I get it. I've been there. When you feel like you can't get ahead of anything, what does that do to a person's soul? And I just don't think the policy prescriptions coming out of this either two parties right now is going to get us there.
I know.
Anger isn't an agenda. Well, that's a good line.
And I think that my biggest concern is that everyone down here is worrying about putting food on the table, serving their families, putting gas in their car, paying health insurance, whatever that is. Then everyone else up here is going to dictate the way that this is going to go, because they can't even focus, which is basically what's happened. The Biden administration has chosen who is going to run for the Democratic Party, because everyone else down here is just trying to focus on putting food on the table. They've already told you who the Democratic nominee is going to be. Not RFK. There was no debate. Everyone's just everyone's just laser focused on surviving. There is no thriving. We are surviving right now. Don't get me wrong. We've been there before, the Great Depression, all that kind of stuff, but we are heading down a very slippery slope of allowing the people up here to dictate what's going on down here.
Well, that's been the constant conflict in human history. Is those trying to hold on to power, they're with a vice-like death grip on holding on to power, but power is an illusion, and you have to trust the people with those decisions. And so when both political parties rigged their nomination process to the benefit of Biden and Trump, which is what exactly happened, let's not kid ourselves, that's exactly what happened. And they both signaled, we don't trust our own party to making these decisions. We don't want to leave it up to the equitable solutions that would have occurred in primaries that were fairly and effectively run. They wanted it to have, because there's so much power and money behind those two entities, the Trump campaign and the Biden campaign. There's so much behind all that. They have too much to lose in the transition because they don't know where it's going to go. And as a result, and it's also a virtue of being better organized and having people at those positions of power and those decisions. However, to Mary Catherine's point, the people at the lower rungs of the ladder are the ones going, who's looking out for me? When I ran in 2001 for the first time, it's very instructive. The nation was at 55% going in the right track, wrong track is a polling narrative reality that pollsters look at. Right track, wrong track. Back when I was elected 2001, the right track in the country was 55%, 29%. Today, it's 29% wrong, right direction, 72% wrong direction. It's completely flipped and then some. And this was before 9/11 when I got elected. I got elected 2 months after 9/11. So but this is when I was running. I would knock on doors. This is when things are going great. We're paying down the debt. The budget is balanced. We're in peace. To a person, guys, they said to me, get in there and shake things up. I don't trust them. When things were at their best in the last 25 years, instinctively, American voters said, I don't trust them. Get in and shake things up. And they're not wrong. They're not wrong.
Any last words, Mary Catherine?
None from me.
Cool.
Take things up.
Little Miss F-bomb. Good Lord, woman.
His are just flying out today. I've
Anger.
been in a mood the past few days, and
You're
it's
serious?
just.
When you talk about the people down here, you're talking about people that make less than $200,000 as a household. That's real. Okay, we are it's the milk.
Frozen. Yeah.
Yes.
We can't be that mad about it. Don't be too mad. Just I'm like, burn it all, dude. Burn it all down. Build it back up and see if it's any better. because it can't get much worse.
There's a
Which
danger.
is there's a
It
danger
sure
in
is.
that.
There's a
but
danger in heading in this direction, though. And
but
everybody
there
wants to
is
do 4 more
something
years of
about
Biden
that.
because they
There's
don't want to vote for
actually
Trump.
there's
see you
something in
over
the human condition that is about if you can't make it better, you destroy it. I need
That's right.
to find it. I need to find it. But that's what that is something. That is exactly what it is.
Yeah.
If you can't make it better, you destroy it. And I can't remember where I read
Hey,
that.
Congress right now. One man can't go in there and change it and make it any better. Just destroy it. Just get rid of it. Throw it in the trash.
Start over. We're pulling a Michelle
Love it.
Saxon. We're throwing everything out. We're starting over.
Yeah.
God,
Summer
don't-
purge. Are we there? Are we spring cleaning yet, Dad? Are we spring
God
cleaning yet?
help us. She's coming home. Don't do this. Please don't do this to me.
Yeah. Go clean the house. All right, guys.
She's gonna
All right.
she's gonna roll up a dumpster here in no time and start chucking everything in the house out. We're getting rid of everything. No, that's important. You know.
Yeah.
The TV. No.
See, the dogs.
The dogs are gone.
The husband. The husband.
The husband. Yeah. Yeah.
All
All right, guys.
All right.
Cheers. I'll y'all later.
Bye.